Hey everyone, welcome back, and I wish it was under better circumstances. But today I need to share a deeply concerning and profoundly emotional development that has left fans around the world holding their breath. The story centers on A$AP Rocky, the chart-topping rapper, fashion icon, devoted father, and a moment inside a hospital ICU that no parent ever wants to witness. According to multiple people with knowledge of the situation, Rocky's mother was at his bedside when medical monitors tracking his heartbeat suddenly went flat, the pulse graph on the screen going straight. For a parent, that's every nightmare come true. Witnesses say she cried uncontrollably, calling her son's name as doctors and nurses moved in with frantic urgency. This wasn't just another story about a celebrity falling ill. This was a raw reminder that health and life are fragile, no matter who you are or how brightly you shine in the public eye. Asterisk, to understand how shocking this was for everyone close to Rocky, you have to picture the past few months of his life. This is a man who has been everywhere, walking Paris runways, working late nights in recording studios fine-tuning new tracks, traveling between continents for shows, all while balancing being a partner and father to 3 young children. Just weeks before this crisis, fans saw him smiling alongside Rihanna, celebrating the latest addition to their family. There were loving glances, easy laughs, and all the signs of a man in a good place. But behind the glamour and the flashbulbs, those closest to him say there had been signs of strain. He'd been more tired than usual. At a private event not long ago, a few friends noticed he was quieter, his energy off. Some confided later that he'd mentioned feeling a kind of tightness in his chest, short spells of dizziness. True to his nature and the culture of the entertainment grind, he brushed it off. Long tours, late nights, and high-pressure commitments can wear on anyone, and performers often see pushing through fatigue as part of the job. Asterisk then, earlier this week, everything changed in an instant. According to accounts from people in his household, Rocky was at home when he suddenly collapsed, struggling for breath. His team moved quickly, calling emergency medics who rushed him to the nearest hospital. In the ambulance, monitors were attached, oxygen administered. By the time he reached the hospital doors, his condition had worsened, and he was taken directly into the intensive care unit. It was there, sometime during those first critical hours, that the terrifying scene unfolded. One moment, the heart monitor beside his bed showed the familiar jagged peaks of a heartbeat, the steady blip of life. The next, that line went flat. It was accompanied by the unmistakable sustained tone that signals the heart has stopped. For those in the room, time seemed to freeze. The team around his bed snapped into action, compressions, shouted instructions, the clatter of equipment being moved into place. Asterisk, Rocky's mother, who had arrived minutes earlier after racing through traffic to get to the hospital, was at his side as the alarm began. For a moment she just stared at the monitor, as if willing it to change. Then the reality hit. Witnesses describe her bursting into sobs, clutching his hand, calling his name over and over. She is said to have whispered prayers between her cries, her voice breaking, pleading with him to fight, to come back. Nurses gently tried to guide her back to allow them space to work, but she refused to fully step away, needing him to feel that she was there. People in the corridor outside the ICU could hear the commotion, the urgent voices of the medical staff, the sound of the heart monitor, and the unmistakable sobs of a mother afraid she might be losing her child. Asterisk, for several minutes that must have felt eternal to everyone present. It was a battle against the odds. Then, as quickly as the line had gone flat, a flicker appeared on the screen, a small rise, then another, and then the peaks returned, uneven at first, but there. His mother reportedly gasped out loud, clutching his arm as the doctors confirmed they had a heartbeat again. The relief in the room was immediate, but nobody pretended the danger was over. He was still in critical condition, surrounded by machines, and clearly exhausted by whatever had caused his body to fail so suddenly. To protect his privacy, hospital staff did not share the exact diagnosis, but people close to the family hinted that the combination of exhaustion, recent minor surgery, and acute stress may have played its part. Asterisk, from that moment on, his mother refused to leave the ICU. Staff brought her a chair so she could sit by his bed. She held his hand, sometimes stroking his hair back, sometimes just sitting in silence, watching his chest rise and fall. She spoke to him about his children, their smiles, their laughter, and about how much he meant to her. Those who work in critical care will tell you that these constants matter. The sound of a familiar voice, the feeling of a loved one's touch can be anchors for someone fighting to wake up. Her presence became a fixture in the room. Through long nights of beeping monitors and nurses' footsteps, she was there. Asterisk outside the ICU doors, the story had started to spill into the public sphere. Paparazzi caught shots of her arriving at the hospital, eyes red from crying, and those images were enough to set social media alight. Within hours, #Pray for Rocky was trending worldwide. Fans began to post their own tributes, clips from his earliest performances, candid backstage photos, fashion shoots, interviews where he talked about family and ambition. Many wrote about how his music had influenced them, how his collaborations had inspired their own style or creativity. Others focused on the image of his mother in that moment in the ICU, pointing out that no matter how rich or famous you are, in times like these you're just someone's son. Rihanna, caught between caring for their newborn and wanting to be at his bedside, was said to be making quiet trips to the hospital, dressed down and avoiding cameras. She kept silent publicly, but according to sources, she was constantly checking in with doctors and speaking with his mother, trying to manage practical needs while staying strong for their children. Industry peers began sending private messages of support. A few went public, posting simple notes like "We need you here, brother," alongside old photos. Others, understanding the intensity of the situation, chose not to add to the noise, letting their concern be conveyed directly and quietly. Inside the hospital, the atmosphere was one of guarded hope. Doctors were monitoring Rocky's heart closely, running tests to determine why his pulse had fallen away so suddenly and what would be needed to prevent it from happening again. Friends who were allowed in briefly described him as peaceful, though pale and still obviously unwell. At one point, his eyes are said to have opened and made brief contact, a small squeeze of his mother's hand offering a fragment of reassurance for her. That moment was fuel. "You're going to get out of here," she reportedly told him. "We're going to sit outside in the sun again. You're going to laugh with your kids." As the hours turned into days, the conversation outside the hospital began to widen. People pointed out the punishing schedules that top-tier artists keep, the constant travel, the emotional toll of fame, the pressure to deliver creatively while living under scrutiny. Health professionals on TV segments reminded viewers that even young, fit, outwardly healthy individuals can be at risk if they ignore symptoms and push too hard. In Rocky's case, fans couldn't help but connect this moment to the swirl of personal and professional stressors he's faced in recent months. Whether or not those contributed directly, they're part of the bigger picture, one where the human body and mind have limits. Still, through all this, that image in the ICU, his mother crying as the pulse line went flat, remained at the heart of the narrative. It was replayed in words across news articles, described in tweets, referenced in fan art that began appearing online. One widely shared drawing showed Rocky in bed, his mother beside him holding his hand, with the heart monitor in the background shifting from a straight line to a beating trace. Underneath, the caption read, "A mother's love never flatlines." Reaction to that image was overwhelming, with thousands of people commenting about their own experiences sitting by a loved one in a hospital, waiting for them to pull through. By the middle of the week, updates from those closest to him suggested he was making slow progress. Still in ICU, still under 24-hour watch, but stable enough that doctors were talking about the possibility of moving him to a step-down unit if things continued in the right direction. His mother's vigil remained unbroken, even when encouraged to go home for rest. She reportedly said, "Not until he walks out with me." For her, every beep from the monitor, every movement in the bed was part of a battle she intended to fight alongside him. And for fans watching from afar, this became more than just concern for a beloved artist. It became a reminder to check in on people, to not ignore signs of stress or fatigue, to value the moments we have with the people we care for. Messages poured into his official accounts, some from strangers, others from longtime collaborators, all carrying the same sentiment: come back, heal, take the time you need. The same energy fueled group chats, online forums, even spontaneous gatherings where fans played his music and lit candles.